first week of school is behind us, and today kicks off the second week as New York City students get back into the groove after 18 months of remote learning. Being back in the classroom may come with mixed feelings for young people as they navigate post-pandemic life.
Yeah, one writer really captures those feelings in his new book. It's called 0 O'Clock, which looks at the anxiety and challenges that young people have endured due to COVID. So joining us this morning, former Time Magazine and Wall Street Journal editor, author CJ Farley. Good morning, CJ. Welcome back to the Pixar Morning News.
Hey, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Good to see you. So, we recently had you on discussing the passing of actor Michael K. Williams, right? So now you're here to discuss your novel, not only as the author, but as a parent of school-age children. So first and foremost, explain the title, 0 O'Clock, right? What prompted you to write it? What does the title mean?
Well, as you mentioned, I used to be the music critic for Time Magazine. Interviewed a lot of stars all around the world, U2, Bob Dylan, Taylor Swift. But it turns out my daughter has better musical taste than me because she began listening to this boy band, BTS. And I'm like, this isn't an award-winning band. Who is this group? And I began to get into them. And I realized they actually have a very deep, very interesting message that I think would be perfect to help root this new book that I'm working on. And they have a song called 0 O'Clock. That one interpretation of it is that every day you have a chance to begin over again, that even though things are at their lowest, even though things are at zero, maybe you can start over again just like the clock does every day. And so I thought it was a perfect title for my book. And the music of BTS is threaded throughout this book because it's something that I think a lot of people are listening to. I think it really helped represent 2020 and 2021. So I wanted to make them part of the narrative of my book.
Yeah, my kids are a huge fan of BTS. The book is centered around New Rochelle, which happens to be where you live, but also it's where the first case of COVID was confirmed in our area. So why was it so important for you to keep this story so close to home?
Yeah, so I live right in New Rochelle. We were in the so-called containment zone back when everybody was really frightened about what this was, what was going on, how quickly can it spread. And I remember I was sitting in my house and I was working away on this book about what was going on, and I turned on the TV news and I see 60 Minutes is right around the corner from me, filming at one of my neighbor's houses. And I thought to myself, I don't think I want to have 60 Minutes tell the story of my neighborhood. I think I need to do this myself. And it really motivated me to go ahead and finish this book because it was really important to tell our own story, to tell the story of my friends and my neighbors and New Rochelle, and really the story of what a lot of kids are going through. And I want to do it myself.
So COVID, obviously, we've talked about this. It revealed some serious social issues, particularly in Black and brown communities, which you also don't shy away from in the book. So first and foremost, what's the age group that you actually are gearing this book towards? And do you want it to be used as a tool really to get kids to understand what was going on and really to open up and talk about their feelings?
100%. This is for people in middle school and high school. The books that you read when you're a kid, they're so formative, whether it's The Catcher in the Rye, The Lord of the Rings. These books sort of stick with you and they form the basis of your identity sometimes. And so I thought it was really important to have a book that people could actually use that really goes through the kinds of things that they're dealing with. I remember one time, one of my children, I have two, I have a son and I have a daughter, came home with a book called The Indian in the Cupboard that they'd been assigned in class. And they're like, what does this have to do with my life? This is a really stereotypical book about a small Native American that somehow teaches some kids some lessons. This is not something that really I can apply to what I'm going through. So I wanted to write 0 O'Clock so kids could have something they could identify with that speaks to the things they went through in the pandemic and the things they have to grapple with. So the books they read in class aren't just literary broccoli. It's stuff that really speaks to where they're coming from.
And it's so great that you're targeting the older students because this is the age group, especially high school students, that was kind of the forgotten age group. A lot of high school kids, when they were forced to stay in remote learning, were the ones where they're like, oh, don't worry, they can take care of themselves. So they can really relate to this book. It really had an effect on their psyche.
You're so right. And I think the important thing to remember is that for adults, this is maybe 2 years out of our lives. We've had long lives, other things have happened. But for kids, the sense of time is something different. This is almost all of their high school years. They've lost proms, they've lost homecomings, they've lost whole athletic seasons, they've lost friends and parents and grandparents. This is really a traumatic, seismic shift in their lives. in their identities, in the way they view the world. And parents need to not take that for granted. They need to grapple with it. They need to find books that speak to it. They need to sit down and discuss what went on so the kids can have a better sense of their lives in the future going forward.
Yeah, it's kind of the forgotten group. Thanks so much, CJ Farley, for joining us this morning. And be sure to pick up a copy of 0 O'Clock wherever books are sold.